Hey everybody, I hope that you all had a great week. Congress is back in session. This week we picked right back up on some of our top priorities, including some of the important things for veterans as we celebrated Veterans Day earlier this week. But before I get into all of that, I wanted to touch on some recent news regarding the South Florida Water Management District's decision to extend their land leases with Florida Crystals for land authorized to be used for the EAA Southern Storage Reservoir before anybody had any time to get any notice on that project. Now, as you may know, we authorized the construction of the EAA Southern Storage Reservoir in a provision that I wrote as part of something known as the Water Resources and Development Act, which was signed into law last month. Now that means that as soon as we secure the funding for that infrastructure project, we can get right to work on it, get closer to reducing these harmful algal blooms that are plaguing our community, these discharges. I'm committed to working on this. I know that Senator Rubio has been committed to working on finding the funding for this on the Senate side. So this is something that we are working as quickly as we can to make sure that this project is moving ahead immediately. Last Thursday, just weeks after that bill was signed into law, the South Florida Water Management District decided to pull a fast one and rush a vote on extending the land lease with Florida Crystals for land authorized to be used for that reservoir. The land, some of the land that's to be used for that reservoir was extended into a land lease going forward. Now, not only does that probably violate South Florida Water Management District's public notice requirement, but this also puts the reservoir at risk of being delayed, especially considering that the lease didn't expire until March, but they rushed it through to get this done last month where they were extending this lease, not giving people notice. There was no reason to rush this vote. I went down myself to Coral Gables to attend the board meeting on behalf of myself and on behalf of Governor-elect Ron DeSantis. I urged them to delay the vote, but they ignored my voice. They ignored the voice of Governor-elect Ron DeSantis. They ignored the voices of Congress. They ignored the voice of the Florida legislature. Most importantly, they ignored the voice of the community and those communities around Lake Okeechobee who continue to suffer from the mismanagement of our water. Now, those business owners who've had to close down shop as a result of toxic algae infesting our waterways, the animals and the fish who have died from algae poison, the families and the children who have gotten sick from the algae, and those who are afraid to even take their kids swimming. I'm one of those families because they don't want their kids getting sick. These are the voices that the South Florida Water Management District has chosen to ignore by sneaking this lease by without consent of our community and with barely any prior notice. And as I said, it probably violated the rules that they are supposed to fall under in terms of giving people notice on any new leases that they're putting forward. Now, moving forward, I will continue working with our allies in the state government and the federal government to hold them accountable for this action and fighting to ensure that the reservoir gets built as fast as possible without delay. Switching gears, as you know, this past Monday was not only Veterans Day, but also the anniversary of the Armistice, November 11, 1918, that ended World War I, making it an extra special Veterans Day. And to honor our veterans, I had the opportunity to speak to a number of different groups to share my thoughts about the importance of recognizing the sacrifices of our fellow veterans. I got to witness some of the most incredible Veterans Day ceremonies from places of work and from schools. I visited the Hope Sound Bible College and the St. Anastasia Catholic School in Fort Pierce, Jupiter Christian, Crystal Lake Elementary, Bessie Creek Elementary, the Senior Living in Port St. Lucie, New Horizons. The list goes on and on, but there were some absolutely incredible Veterans Day events going on throughout our community, and it makes me proud every single time. I can't forget the Stewart Veterans Day Parade. That was always one of the most fun events that I go to every year. The community comes out and just such a well-supported event. I was very proud of that. It was truly an amazing Veterans Day, and I would like to thank all of you who attended and who hosted me for those events, honoring the sacrifices of our veterans from World War II, and those that served in the Pacific and in Europe and North Africa, those that served during the Korean War, and those that served during the Vietnam War, and in Panama and Kosovo and Bosnia and Somalia and Grenada, and the Gulf War and Iraq and Afghanistan, all those who put on a uniform, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, those of you that served alongside of me, and thank you to every single one of those veterans that ever went out there, because what your willingness was this, regardless of what was asked of you, you were willing to trade your life for somebody that you never knew. And that's something that I think there's nothing more deserving than our respect and our honor of each and every one of you. So thank you for your service to our country. We're proud of you every single day. I'm proud of you every single day. This Veterans Day on the Hill, we also honored our IOD Techs, our explosive ordnance disposal technicians, those soldiers from across all branches of our military who go out there and they risk their lives to defend their fellow soldiers by rendering explosives safe and clearing the way for their mission on land and on sea. This is the job that I had in the Army, so I always appreciate the opportunity to thank them for the service and show our next generation of IOD Techs that we support them and their hard work, and we're behind them 100%, and that's why I was proud to be a part of hosting them on the Hill here this week. Now lastly, I helped introduce a bipartisan bill this week alongside my colleague, Congresswoman Kathleen Rice, to recognize the service of over 2 million female veterans in our country. When we made that promise to take care of our veterans from the moment that they put on their uniform, we swore to uphold that promise to all veterans, men and women alike. But unfortunately, women veterans face certain barriers in trying to get help at the VA, getting turned down more often for mental health services or help dealing with sexual trauma, or having to prove to VA doctors that they are both veterans and combat veterans. With the number of women serving our country growing substantially in recent decades, the VA's mission statement must reflect that as well. So by updating the VA's motto to include men and women, our bill is reaffirming our commitment to all veterans and their families. With that, I hope that you all have a great week. I hope that you have an incredible Thanksgiving. I often talk to people in Thanksgiving about Thanksgiving, regardless of the time of year that it is, when I speak about what goes on in the political fray and what goes on in Washington, and simply to say this, we don't all agree on everything, but in a couple of days here, we're all going to sit down at a Thanksgiving table. We're going to enjoy turkey and pie and everything else with our own members of our own family, and even with our own family members. We don't agree on everything, and it's impossible to believe that all of us as strangers to some degree are going to agree on everything. But we still come together. We still sit down as family, and we still move forward. And I think that when we sit down as a nation, we have to be able to acknowledge that we're not all going to agree on everything. But there's no table that we'd rather be sitting at than that of the United States of America, because we are the greatest country ever to be established on the history of this earth. And I think that every single one of us that are citizens of this incredible country have so much to be thankful for just in that. And in that, I just want to say one more time, I hope that you have an incredible Thanksgiving, great time with your family. To every one of our veterans and service members that are over there serving overseas, that don't get to be home with their family members for Thanksgiving, just know that we're thinking about you. Our hearts are with you. We're thankful for everything that you're going out there and doing on our behalf to keep our country safe. Every one of our law enforcement officers and first responders that are on call, on duty, as other people are spending time with their families, thank you for everything that you do to keep us safe. In that, I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you all around home.